Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is a stacker killer build. This works for PvP, obviously, and PvE. They're both beneficial in both ways. It is a choo-choo set of PA, along with a brand iron, a sheep squatch, or etc. This build will be super beneficial to anyone and everyone, and super beneficial against stackers. So, stick around, and I hope you enjoy the show. And we're gonna go over a lot of information. So, yeah, see you in just a second, guys. First things first, guys. Let's go over the armor. I use the exact same rolls on every piece of armor, which is Assassins, 2 Strength, Sentinel, and of course Choo-Choos, which is the main thing you want. Every single piece I have is all the same, every last one. You can use reflective if you would like. I would at most use one reflective, but it's not that beneficial because you want this thing to proc as much as you want. And like I said, 10% chance to do 500 damage and bloody mess when sprinting. It's a 50% chance on full stack. So therefore, if you have 5 pieces, there's a 50-50 chance it procs. It procs really quick when you have a lot of choo-choos. If you have 1 or 2, it will proc. It just percentage-wise, it goes down. So it's up to you. But me personally, I use all 5 pieces, every single one. Honestly, I use optimized bracers because it's not really a better additive, honestly, for this. I mean, I guess if you want to use auto axe, yeah, it cuts your AP down to like fucking nothing. But it also does benefit when you're swinging your one-handed or two-handed weapons, which, like I said, brand iron or the British brand iron, for example. It is beneficial because it does reduce the AP costs. So you're reducing your AP cost by 50% because you only use 2, obviously. So I mean, it's beneficial. AP is very important in this build. I use database because the intelligence, since a few seasons back or a season, it changed it to where first aid. Obviously, the more intelligence you have, the better healing you have, and this works encompassingly, not just first aid. It just works inherently. So there really ain't nothing else to use. I mean, there really ain't. You're not worried about VATs that much because with melee, there's a 95% chance to hit somebody. So having a 20% more boost to VATs is kind of redundant. It doesn't matter. So use intelligence because it has a little bit better healing. Not massive, but a little bit better healing. Yeah, and that is all for the armor. So when it comes to the weapon, I personally use this weapon. It is Executioners. I never changed the Aristocrats, but there's benefits. The Aristocrat is better, but I'm bad about not keeping enough caps on me. Weapon speed, 3 strength, and the pyro. Pyro is very important. It boosts your fire damage. I am not buffed at all right now. I'm actually nerfed. I think it usually goes around the 1500 fire on the last roll, the 3 seconds. The reason why me, and a lot of people will, especially in BWB, will say Blue Ridge over anything. If you notice, it says 3 seconds for the fire DOT. That's important because even though the sheep squatch will get similar numbers, it's 5 seconds. So that's an extra 2 seconds that you don't have it. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it is maybe slightly more, but you gotta do it for 5 seconds. So here, I'll show you, just show you what it looks like. Yeah, see, like it is slightly more than the Blue Ridge, but it takes 5 seconds. That's a lot. That's the reason why I say Blue Ridge over anything else. The Executioner, the Mutants is probably the second best, and Aristocrats is the best. But you do have to have your caps at 29,000 to get the full benefit. Now, if you could use Mutants or use Aristocrats, but you can have Aristocrats say at 20,000 caps, you'll still get more than Mutants. But if if you don't feel like you're gonna have caps a lot, or you're always buying, trading a lot of shit in game and the vendors, just go with Mutants. Mutants is better because it does give you more fire damage than even Executioners. So, FYI, Executioner being the third best, or possibly using Junkies. I don't use Junkies, but yes, Aristocrats, Mutants, and Executioner would be my top 3. All right, so let's go over the cards, their usages, all that stuff. We'll go over this real quick, and that way I can show you the full build. All right, this is your card layout. These are very simple. Obviously, most of this stuff is kind of obvious. Overstrength, child pharmacy always. I mean, unless you're fighting overweight against another overweight fighter, there's no reason not to use child pharmacy. When it comes to slugger perks, yes, they are more paramount than child pharmacy because you want to do the most damage. Because if you leave off a slugger, you're going to lose 20% damage, and you want the damage, obviously. But that's when you fight legit players. Like when you fight people who actually know what they're doing. When it comes to stackers and stuff like that, it's all about DOT. It's about DOT and DPS. That is literally all it is. There's nothing else to worry with. All right, so travel pharmacy. First off, I use wrecking ball as a placer because I don't really have. I have extra point and I have nothing else to do with it. You can use something else with it, I guess. You can probably do like a one-star slugger or something like that. Be fine if you want to use auto axe a little bit here and there, but I don't recommend because the auto axe, the bash mini, and all that stuff doesn't really do any damage. It's all DOT. But you can use a slugger for the sheep squash staff, or you could use a one-star gladiator for the like what I'm using, which is the branding iron. It's a one-handed weapon. It will give you 10% damage, so it does help with DOT 1,000%. It does, so you can use that for example. All right, so barbarian, like I said, you can take these two off. Barbarian is not the most big. It's not. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. It does give you a little extra protection when it comes to your DR, but it's not. It's not one that you would really have to. I usually do that for 1v1 fighting around, so I use that because it does help. It is beneficial. Not by a massive amount, but it is beneficial. Because most of the DOT and the Choo does a massive amount of damage already. You do not really have to buff it too much, but if you want to buff it more, you're absolutely welcome to. Blocker, always. Every stacker I've ever seen in my life, except for like the old days, are all using auto axes because they do not realize the auto axe, yes, massive amount of damage. Not close to the bash. Not it's actually laughable at this point. Yes, it still one taps a lot of people, but it's not. It doesn't one tap like the bash does. The bash is just like superior. But yes, they're going to use auto axes almost every single time. I think I bet one that used the bash mini. I don't. I mean, they just don't know. They're dumb, so who cares? But so yeah, etc. etc. Okay, martial artist. You do want martial artist, no matter if you're using a sheep squash staff or a rigid blade iron, etc. You do want this. It's like I said, it's all about DPS. So the main thing about this card is that swing factor. You get 30% swing rate. Okay, that is DPS. That is damage per second. You absolutely want that. The 60 weight, that's fine. But that's okay. It's just kind of a redundant, but that matters. That 30% faster matters massively. Right after strength, yes, you do want this because of the power attack and bashing, because you can power attack with that. With the any weapon you just happen to have in your hand, you can use R1 to bash. And if you're running, it is a power attack. If you're running and you hit someone or hit something with any melee weapon in the game, no matter what it is, if you're running, that is a power attack. If you're standing still and you swing R2, that is not a power attack. But if you're running and hit R2, that is a power attack. So it does benefit to that glow does benefit to DOT. It 100% does. 150% actually. It does boost the DOT. So yeah, absolutely use that. Brick wall. This is very beneficial to me personally. I find it super beneficial because I said the DOT, the Choo Choos are going to do most of the work. The Choo Choo actually does the most work, but this is great because you're not going to be staggered very easily. The only time you're going to get staggered while you're fighting someone, if you're using a one-handed or two-handed swinging weapon, it's just reflective. Now it happens more at procs more against auto melees because you're hitting so many times per second. When it comes to DOT, you're not hitting like you're not hitting 30 times in a second. Like you're hitting like once a second, maybe once every 2 seconds or 3 seconds at most. Like you're not well, really about 1 second. But regardless, they're if they wear full reflective, it's not going to be that damaging to you, and it does not reflect against Choo Choos. Choo Choos has a AOE effect. It has a proc area, so you don't have to physically touch them for Choo Choos for it to work. Like it doesn't have to be there. All right, so that's why I use that. Is that they can't stagger me as easily. When you're staggered, you don't heal as good. Sometimes it takes like literally a second or two for your heals are allowing to actually work. So that is an extremely important card. That needs to go off. That is the wrong one. Breathe it in. I use T65. It has a higher radiation resistance. So yeah, that yes, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, you want that 198 for toxic goo radiation. You want to refill your radiation, your glow as fast as possible. You don't want to take any chances. You know, that's it. Life giver because more health, the more times you can get hit. Simple as that. Now, this there is a significant difference here. I use good doggy because I do use dog food sometimes on my flight because it gives you if you use that card for every dog food you eat, it gives you 188 HP per its tick rate. I guess I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it gives you 188 HP. If you don't use it, I think it's like 62, 63, somewhere in that range. So if you're using colas, quantums, use cola nut. Even if you're a ghoul, they're not super important. I don't really use cola that much as I've been a ghoul, but it is super beneficial, especially for AP regen and of course health, because actually quantums will boost your health faster than stems. So you can pop say one or two quantums and then go straight back to goo and feel your glow like in an instant. It's so much faster than stems. So FYI. Through hiker because you're going to have toxic goo and you're probably going to have colas too. You always need that. Starch genes is important to me as a ghoul because I don't want every serum, so I use that so I don't get like contract herbivore or healing factor. Those two are the worst to me personally. They're the worst fucking things that are in the game. Like I know herbivore has its place, but I don't like it as a melee player. I don't find it beneficial. So if I do get it, it can hurt my carnivore. It can hurt the overall like the effects of my carnivore. So I don't like it at all. I also don't like healing factor because healing factor will, if you don't suppress it, and that's just more wasted to me personally. That's more wasted serums, more wasted flux, and then that's your chems are not going to do as much, and you're going it's I don't like that. I mean, sorry, it's going your psycho buff instead of giving you 3 endurance and all that stuff and HP, it's going to drop it. It's going to be like 40. I think it's 40 extra health and like 1.75 or 1.25 endurance. It's I hate that shit to be honest. Radiation power. Obviously, because radiation power is that is tenderizer for ghouls instead of tenderizers for charisma, which tenderizers has been nerfed obviously since the season. It doesn't work in PvP, but this does, and it's for ghouls. So ghouls do have tenderizer technically. Tenderizer still works. You just have to be a ghoul, and you have to have glow. All right. Glowing gut, this is something you have to have. Like this is a non-factor. You have to have this because if you're in PA, you're going to have more radiation resistance. That's just for granted. No matter what happens, you're always going to have more rad resist. So you have to have this to offset. That way, your food or toxic goo, more appropriately, or you're talking toxic water because they'll still give you 148 rads, but for 198 rads is the highest you can go as far as I can tell from now. You want to have this or not, you won't get but like 40 or 50 rads per toxic goo. With this, you'll get 198. So always make sure you max this out. Um, Party Boy, I use Party Boy obviously for triple effects. So if you're using whiskey, you're going to get 6 strength. If you're using vodka, you only get 3 strength and your health. I think it's 65, I think it's 75 actually. Yeah, 75 HP. Or Nuka Dark, you'll get 6 strength and 6 endurance, which is still one of the best whiskeys in the game. Is or whiskey alcohols in the game, excuse me. It's still the best because it gives you both effects of like say of we don't give you both effects of like vodka for example, but it still does give you a massive jump while having the 6 strength. So it is a very good above center line alcohol. Like it just gives you super beneficials of the whiskey and still gives you the partial of say vodka or cranberry moonshine or honey. Whatever. Except for a few others that do it. Vodka being the most prevalent one. Um, Strange in numbers, yes, because you're gonna be mutated. Everybody playing this game is mutated in one way or another. Whether it's just you know marsupial or you got 20, well not 20, I think it's like 18 or 19. Let's say you got 10 mutations, which I normally have around 12 or 13, I believe. You're going to want this because there's no reason not to. As long as you're on a team, you're going to get stronger effects. So always do that. It also benefits your food. In case you didn't know that, this also benefits your food because your foods now give you more. Because you could be on a team by yourself, you'll only get 6 strength from Wellington. With one person on your team, just having this card, you're going to get 8 strength, and that flows through for everything else. So FYI. Suppressor. Suppressor works and has always worked for PvP since I've played. And you always want that damage reduction, like, because, obviously you want the damage reduction, especially dealing with stackers. They already don't do a massive amount of damage anyway. They do now, technically, which everybody does because of the how unbalanced the weapons are now. So you definitely want suppressors because it always gives you a little survivability. I mean, it's always. And you die at ordeal because you just get better special stats. You want your endurance, your strength, your luck, all that as high as it'll go. You want it pushed to the absolute limit. So yeah, always take this between strange numbers, herd mentality, and this. You're going to get a massive bonus to your special stats, just flat out. Like you're going to get extra. So it's three there, and I think you get extra three, except for which one is it? It's one of the ones doesn't benefit from herd mentality. I think it's endurance. So of all things, you'll still get six to pretty much across the board except for one. So FYI. All right, I do use first aid because I really don't have anything else to put in here, and I feel like everything else is fine. If you can figure out a different way, or you feel like you figure out more intelligence or less intelligence, and it benefits you, absolutely do it. But science monster because I do want that extra damage. Um, this is technically tenderizer. Is what it really is. It's technically like a tenderizer, but with bloody mess numbers. So technically, it's two tenderizers, and you know, there's two tenderizers. That's legit. This is cool. So you get that little bit of damage for 10 seconds, which the tenderizer normally would do, and this does work for PvP, obviously too. Um, and I use battery included because I've always carried a bunch of fusion cores on me. So you can switch out batteries including first aid for like power user because to not drain your fusion cores is bad. Because some people I've noticed they do like to use like the cord drainer, the fusion cord drainer, like for the plasma rifle, but it's not been very prevalent of late, so I wouldn't necessarily call that a big deal. You could also flip this out for nerd rage, but since you're a ghoul, there is a benefit, but it's not a massive benefit because once you're in the health range or and below for a ghoul, it doesn't take much to kill you. Like you're really weak in that stage. You want to keep that glow on as much as possible. You do not want because once that glow is gone, look at it this way: once your glow's gone, you're close to death. Even if you have a full health bar, you're close to death. You want to get that glow bar back as fast as possible. All right, so I that's why I use Born Survivor actually because I'm not an I use Born Survivor just in case I do happen to get below glow. That'll kind of give me, it'll give me a second or two to kind of recoup, right? That's why I use Born Survivor. Dodgy, obviously, always use Dodgy. If you're PvP and you're not using Dodgy, you're fucking up because if you get touched by anything, any decent weapon like the laser rifle, even, you're dead. You're absolutely dead. Like there's no chance. So also, Action Boy and Action Ghoul do stack. They do give you 90% AP regen. That is 100% definitely a thing. So try to integrate them. Hopefully use them because they will help you. All right, I do use Bloody Mess and always use Bloody Mess when you're looking for damage output because it's 15% bonus damage for nothing. It's just 15% more damage. So that does help your DOT. It doesn't help Choo Choos. There's no way to force Choo Choos to be better. It does a flat damage, but the higher your luck, the better your Choo Choos procs. There is a time frame where it will proc or it won't proc, but it's a guaranteed proc the higher your luck to a certain degree. Like you don't want to go overboard with it, but you want to have decent luck because you want to make sure. All right, you can use like you can suppress your serums and not use class freak and put on better criticals. That way, if you're vatting someone and you hit them with critical, yes, it will boost your DOT. It will do that, but you don't have to have it. Like I said, because Choo Choo's doing the main work, the DOT itself is already strong enough. I mean, if you want to use it. No problem with it whatsoever. If you can use it, use it. If you have team members share it, use it. No problem. Curator, I use bobbleheads. Like I use melee bobbleheads, obviously, and I use like Unstoppables 4 to avoid melee damage. So use that too because they're going to be using melee. So there's no reason not to use it because they can hit you with zeros or 110s. Force them to not be able to do much damage, always. Battle Genes for HP recovery. This is actually a nice card, and I didn't really care for it at first, but I've learned to like it because of the HP recovery. Now, 4 HP don't sound like a lot, but if you do happen to get close to death as a ghoul, this could be super beneficial. It'll keep you from dying. I mean, technically, I look at it as a nerd rage that works better for ghouls because you're always getting that 4 HP at all times. As long as you're aggro to something, whether it be a damn Marlock or a person, you are always getting that benefit while you are in aggro in combat. Simple as that. And of course, faulty spots because that is a bonus. Bloody mess. That's just a bloody mess. The only difference between that and bloody mess is faulty spots is part specific. You have to hit yellow numbers, a headshot, for example, to get that increased damage. Like you can't hit somebody in the leg. The faulty spots won't do anything for you. But if you hit them in the head, it will do. It will help. So there's no reason not to use it. It's just extra damage for just to be there. So yeah, that's pretty much all of that. Let's go to legendaries. I do run most of the same stuff for this. I have been using Sizzle Style more than Funky Duds because I don't feel like the DOT of Poison Auto actually does a lot of damage. It's mostly ballistic. So I just don't see a major benefit, period. And most people I run into have been using Holy Fires and Plasma Flamers. Has been way more prevalent than auto axes. So most people are moving toward the bash. I mean, there's people that still use auto axes. It's fine. Hey, this if they enjoy it, they enjoy it. But it's just I don't believe Funky does is that important because I've actually fought people with auto axes or against auto axe users, and I never even had Funky duds on. I still had Sizzle Style and was still winning. So it's, it's not that beneficial to me personally. But if they do help pull out a Holy Fire, that will be super beneficial. That would actually do because Holy Fires, all that stuff does do a lot of damage. And now in this season, they do a massive amount of damage. Obviously, endurance, health is high as it'll go, agility high as it'll go, strength up, duh, because more strength, more damage for melee across the board. Every point of strength is 5% damage, so you want to push your strength as far as it'll go. Intelligence, just for that extra little small stuff I do with the science monster and all that. Because I have 1 intelligence and I put that on top, and then I have the 6 intelligence actually, but it's actually only 1. And take 1 for team. One you always use if you're PvP, if you're especially killing stackers or whatever. That card is a must. It actually works super well in PvE, but that is a must when PvP. If you max that card out, that is 40% damage. That is a massive chunk of damage that you get added to your ability. Always use that. Always use it. I don't care if you're a commando. Well, technically, commando can not use it. They can use follow through, but always use that in cases where you're going to be getting hit and you're going to be hitting back at all times. All right, and yeah, that is pretty much it with the cards. If you have any questions about these cards, anything you want to change, or do you feel like maybe beneficial to you, absolutely do it. If not, hit me up, and we'll discuss it. And maybe I've already tried some stuff out, and I didn't speak about it here, so I can help you out a little bit more, and just let you know if I believe it'll help you or try it, etc. Let me know. So yeah, guys, that's everything. That is the build, the armor, and the weapons. If there's any other questions you may have, like I said, I am going to put the food and the serums in a community post. So I felt like this video was very, very long. I didn't want to drone you off too much. That way it's a quick reference for you. And, if you want to utilize it, there it is. Just come back and make a community post. Everything will be there ready for you. But yeah, thanks guys for watching, and use this build as much as you like. It works for PvE as well. Take off dodgy. Everything else, it's the exact same thing, bro. So, hope you enjoyed. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.